Most men make the mistake of thinking that if they just give more, if they sacrifice more, if they pour themselves endlessly into the hands of someone else, that somehow that will buy them love, loyalty, or desire. But here's the truth. When you make another person the center of your world while neglecting yourself, you don't inspire attraction, you suffocate it. The very act of placing someone else on a pedestal is the same act that lowers your own value in their eyes. And it's not because they're cruel or shallow or dismissive. It's because human nature is wired to chase what is scarce, to desire what is strong, and to respect what respects itself first. You must begin by valuing yourself above all else, not in a selfish way, but in a way that recognizes you are the foundation of every relationship you will ever have. If you can't respect your own time, your own boundaries, your own worth, how can you expect anyone else to? People learn how to treat you by watching how you treat yourself. If you constantly downplay your abilities, if you tolerate disrespect, if you betray your own principles just to keep someone close, then you are teaching them that you are disposable. And once that idea takes root, they no longer have a reason to chase you. Why would they? You've already shown that you'll stick around no matter what. Think about the men you admire, the ones who seem to effortlessly attract women, not because they're chasing, but because others gravitate toward them. They have an energy about them, a posture, a quiet certainty, that doesn't come from flattery or people-pleasing. It comes from self-value. It comes from a deep understanding that they are worthy of respect, worthy of loyalty, and that they will never compromise their core just to be liked. That energy is magnetic because it signals strength, and strength has always been attractive. This is not about arrogance. Arrogance is fragile. It's an inflated ego that bursts the moment it's tested. True self-value is humble but firm. It's the ability to look yourself in the mirror and say, I will not settle for less than I deserve. It's refusing to waste your time on people who drain you, refusing to chase validation that keeps slipping through your fingers, and refusing to lower your standards out of fear of being alone. You see, loneliness is not the greatest tragedy. Self-abandonment is. When you abandon yourself in the hope of gaining someone else, you've already lost the most important relationship in your life, the one with yourself. So, what does it mean, practically, to value yourself? It means investing in your growth physically, mentally, spiritually. It means setting boundaries and actually enforcing them, not apologizing for them. It means surrounding yourself with people who uplift you, rather than those who drag you down. And it means walking away without hesitation from situations that insult your dignity. Every time you choose yourself in these moments, you reinforce the message to the world, I am not desperate. I am not here to beg. I am here to live fully, and if you want to be part of that, you had better bring something real to the table. Paradoxically, it's when you stop chasing that people start chasing you, because they sense you're not grasping for them, you're already full. And fullness is irresistible. A man who values himself doesn't need to convince anyone to stay. His presence speaks for itself, and those who recognize it will pursue him, because deep down they know what's rare, and they know what's worth holding on to. Value yourself above all else. If you fail to do that, you will hand over your life for scraps of attention that never satisfy. But if you succeed, if you hold firm to your worth, you'll find that you don't have to beg for respect or affection, because they'll come chasing after you. Confidence is not about walking into a room and demanding attention. It's not about raising your voice louder than everyone else, or pretending to be something you're not. Real confidence is much quieter, much deeper. It's the kind of presence that can walk into a room, say nothing at all, and still shift the atmosphere. And the reason it has that effect is because it isn't a mask. It's rooted in something unshakable. It comes from knowing who you are, what you stand for, and refusing to bend under the weight of fear, judgment, or rejection. Most men confuse confidence with bravado. They think it's about acting tough, putting on a show, or hiding every vulnerability behind a wall. But that isn't strength. That's insecurity in disguise. Unshakable confidence isn't the absence of fear. It's the refusal to be controlled by it. It's being able to look at rejection and not crumble, to face criticism and not let it define you, to step into the unknown and still move forward. When you can do that, people sense it. They see that you're not chasing approval, and that makes them curious, even drawn to you. Women, in particular, are finely tuned to notice whether a man is rooted or shaky. They can sense when your words and your energy don't match. If you speak confidently, but you're secretly desperate for validation, they pick up on it. If you project strength, but collapse at the first sign of disapproval, they see through it. What truly compels them isn't perfection. It's resilience. It's the ability to stand tall in the storm without losing yourself. That kind of confidence creates safety, and safety creates desire. The only way to reach this point is through discipline and self-respect. You cannot fake confidence forever. You build it through action, through keeping promises to yourself, through walking into discomfort again and again until your nervous system adapts to pressure. Every time you push beyond fear, every time you confront something you'd rather avoid, you're reinforcing the belief that you can handle life. And when you truly believe that, you stop clinging to people, you stop trying to manipulate outcomes. You stand as you are, and that is when others begin to lean in. Think of it this way. If you're constantly worried about whether someone likes you, whether you're saying the right thing, whether you'll be abandoned, then your entire presence is unstable. You radiate uncertainty, and uncertainty does not inspire pursuit, it repels it. But if you walk into an interaction grounded, already whole, already secure in yourself, you send the opposite signal. You're saying without words, I don't need you to complete me. I choose to be here, but I can walk away at any moment with my dignity intact. That freedom is magnetic. This is why the men who are the most chaste aren't necessarily the richest, the best looking, or the most charming. They are the ones who don't collapse under pressure. They don't beg, they don't chase, they don't flinch. They hold their frame, and when you hold your frame, the world adjusts to you instead of you adjusting to it. Women, especially, are drawn to that steadiness because deep down, it signals that you're someone they can trust, someone they can follow, someone who doesn't waver when life gets difficult. So if you want to embody unshakable confidence, you must stop outsourcing your sense of worth. You must stop handing it over to every opinion, every compliment, every rejection. You must build it from within until it's untouchable. Because when you do, you'll find something remarkable happens. You'll stop chasing attention, and attention will start chasing you. Unshakable confidence doesn't just change how others see you. It changes how you see yourself. And once you carry that kind of certainty, the world cannot help but take notice. A man without a purpose is a man adrift. You can see it in his eyes. There's no fire, no direction, no reason behind the steps he takes each day. And when there is no direction, everything else falls apart. People don't respect a man who doesn't respect himself enough to build something greater than his comfort. Women don't chase a man who is wandering aimlessly, because deep down they know that if he doesn't know where he's going, he cannot lead them anywhere. Purpose is the compass that not only shapes your future, but also transforms the way others respond to you. You need to understand something very clearly. Attraction is not about constantly trying to entertain, impress, or prove yourself. It's about the energy you carry when you're on a mission. There's something magnetic about a man who wakes up each morning with clarity, who knows what he is building, and who is willing to sacrifice temporary pleasures for long-term achievement. That determination radiates from him, and it draws people closer without him ever needing to chase. When you live with direction, people want to be part of the story you're writing. Most men, however, get trapped in cycles of distraction. They pour their time into things that numb them rather than strengthen them. Hours lost to meaningless entertainment, fleeting pleasures, or pursuits that carry no real weight. And then they wonder why their lives feel empty, why relationships feel hollow, why respect never comes. The truth is simple. If your life has no higher aim, no meaningful pursuit, then you become forgettable. You blend in with the millions who are just existing, waiting for something to happen instead of stepping forward to make it happen. Living with purpose does not mean you have to know every detail of your future. It means choosing a direction, committing to growth, and refusing to remain stagnant. Maybe it's your career, maybe it's your craft, maybe it's your health, maybe it's a vision that pulls you beyond yourself. Whatever it is, it must be strong enough to anchor you when distractions try to tear you away. And when you carry that anchor, something changes in you. Your movements become deliberate, your presence more grounded, your conversations more meaningful. You stop seeking validation because your sense of worth is tied to something larger than approval. And here's the paradox. When you stop living for external validation and instead live for a mission, validation starts chasing you. People admire focus because it's rare. They admire discipline because it's scarce. Women in particular are drawn to it because it signals strength and reliability. It tells them that you won't be easily swayed by temptation, by weakness, or by uncertainty. A man with direction is stable, and stability in a chaotic world is deeply attractive. Think about history. The men who shaped the world, the ones remembered and followed, were not the ones who begged for attention. They were the ones so consumed by their mission that attention naturally followed them. They didn't have to chase others wanted to be near them, to share in the energy of their vision. You don't have to become famous or legendary or world-changing, but you must become purposeful. You must live in such a way that your life carries weight, that your choices mean something, that your presence inspires rather than drains. Without direction, you'll always be at the mercy of circumstances, drifting wherever the current pulls you. But with direction, you become the current. You set the pace, you set the standard, you decide the path. And when you live that way, you don't need to convince anyone to follow. You'll find they're already chasing not because you demanded it, but because they can feel you're moving towards something. Real life with purpose, life with direction, because the man who knows where he's going doesn't need to beg for company. The world will line up to walk beside him. One of the greatest tests of a man's strength is whether he can govern himself, not his environment, not the people around him, not the chaos of the world, but his own inner state. Because life will always confront you with moments that provoke anger, fear, jealousy, and doubt. And if you don't master those emotions, they will master you. And when they master you, you lose everything. Your clarity, your dignity, your respect. Nothing is more repulsive than a man who cannot control his own impulses, who erupts like a child when he's challenged, or crumbles the moment rejection touches him. You have to understand that women, and people in general, are not simply drawn to power in the external sense. They are drawn to stability. They want to know that when storms come, you will not be swept away, that when temptation strikes, you will not betray your values, that when adversity hits, you will not collapse into panic. Emotional control is not about being cold or robotic. It's about being unshakable, grounded, steady enough to face turbulence without losing your center. That steadiness is what commands respect, and it's what inspires pursuit. Think of a man who becomes jealous and desperate the moment a woman doesn't answer his message. Think of the man who sulks when he feels overlooked, who explodes when he feels threatened, who constantly seeks reassurance to soothe his insecurity. That man is not respected. He is tolerated at best, pitied at worst, and the tragedy is that his very neediness destroys the attraction he's craving. Because nothing suffocates desire faster than weakness disguised as love. The more he tries to clutch tighter, the quicker she slips away. Contrast that with the man who feels the sting of rejection, but does not let it define him. The man who is disappointed but not derailed, challenged but not shaken. He feels his emotions fully, but he does not become enslaved to them. That man sends a very different signal. He shows that he is not afraid to lose, because he knows he will rebuild. He shows that he cannot be manipulated, because he does not need external approval to remain whole. That is power, and power attracts. The path to this kind of control is not avoidance, it's discipline. You have to expose yourself to pressure, to struggle, to setbacks, and use them as training. Every time life provokes you, you have a choice: collapse or stand firm. Every time you resist the urge to lash out, to beg, to panic, you strengthen your frame. You teach yourself that you are not at the mercy of your emotions. And the more you practice this, the more natural it becomes. Eventually, calm becomes your default. And here is the paradox again, when you no longer need to prove your strength. When you can sit calmly in the fire without losing yourself, people feel it. Women feel it. They lean toward it because it offers a kind of safety that is rare in a world full of fragile men who can't handle their own shadows. They chase it, not because you demanded their attention, but because your very presence reassures them that you are solid, reliable, and unshakable. Mastering emotional control is not about repressing who you are. It's about directing your energy so it builds rather than destroys. It's about showing up as a man who can lead himself and therefore can lead others. And once you embody that, once you carry that quiet, steady power, you'll never need to beg for respect or affection again. They will chase after you because deep down, everyone is drawn to the calm. In the storm, one of the most overlooked truths about attraction is that predictability kills it. When everything about you is known, when every move you make can be anticipated, when you reveal every thought, every feeling, every plan the moment it crosses your mind, you strip away the sense of discovery that keeps people drawn to you. Human beings are wired to be curious. We are drawn toward mystery, toward the unknown, toward what we can't quite grasp. And when you make yourself too available, too transparent, you rob others of the chase. You remove the intrigue that makes them lean forward, wondering who you are and what you're truly about. Now, being mysterious does not mean playing games. It doesn't mean manipulating people by withholding affection or pretending to be something you're not. That's not mystery, that's deception. Mystery, in its truest sense, is about depth. It's about being a man whose inner world is so rich, whose life is so full, that others realize they can't possibly know everything about you at once. It's about not feeling the need to explain yourself endlessly, not rushing to fill silence, not handing over your entire soul at the first sign of attention. Instead, you allow people to earn their way into your life gradually. You reveal yourself layer by layer, and in doing so, you maintain that sense of wonder that keeps them coming back. Think about the difference between a man who spills every detail of his life the moment he meets someone, and a man who carries himself with quiet confidence, sharing just enough but never everything. The first man feels desperate. He's trying to prove his worth by oversharing, by hoping that if he floods the space with words and stories, someone will find him interesting. But the second man doesn't need to prove anything. He allows his presence to speak first. He knows that silence, when carried with confidence, is often more powerful than words. And because he doesn't give everything away, people are left wondering, what else is there? What haven't I seen yet? That question is the spark of pursuit. You see, curiosity is powerful. Once someone is curious about you, they will lean in, they will chase answers. They will want to know you more deeply. And the irony is, the less you try to be understood all at once, the more others crave to understand you. But if you make yourself predictable, if every day looks the same, if your opinions never change, if your stories repeat, then the curiosity dies. And with it, the desire. This is why mystery requires growth. You can't be mysterious if you're shallow. You must be constantly evolving, constantly sharpening yourself, constantly adding new dimensions to who you are. Read more, travel more, create more, discipline yourself more. Build a life so full that even if someone spends years beside you, they're still discovering new layers of who you are. That's real mystery. It's not a mask, it's depth. And here's the secret. People don't chase what they fully possess. They chase what still escapes them. If you want to be pursued, you must always remain just out of reach, not because you're withholding love or care, but because you're continually growing, continually expanding beyond what anyone can fully pin down. That doesn't frustrate, it fascinates. It's what keeps attraction alive, not for a moment, but for a lifetime. So don't be predictable. Don't make yourself an open book in the first chapter. Let others discover you slowly. Let them work for the privilege of knowing you deeply. Build yourself into someone who cannot be fully known in a day, a week, or even a year. Because the man who carries mystery never has to beg for attention. Attention finds him, and it never stops chasing. The moment you decide to raise your standards, your entire life begins to shift. Most men don't struggle because they lack opportunity. They struggle because they settle. They accept less than they deserve. They tolerate disrespect. They compromise on their values just to keep someone by their side. And the tragedy is that the more they lower their standards, the more invisible they become. When you don't demand excellence from yourself or from others, you communicate one message, that your worth is negotiable. And once people believe that, they will treat you accordingly. You have to understand that standards are not about arrogance, and they're not about being difficult. They are about respect, self-respect first, and then respect for what you allow into your life. If you tolerate dishonesty, you'll attract liars. If you tolerate laziness, you'll attract people who drag you down. If you tolerate disrespect, you'll end up surrounded by those who take you for granted. But if you demand honesty, discipline, and effort not with anger, but with quiet certainty, you will find that the people who cannot rise to meet you will drift away, and those who can will come closer. This is where most men fall. They are so afraid of being alone that they cling to anyone who gives them a little attention, even if it comes with chaos, disrespect, or half-hearted effort. But here's the truth. Being alone with dignity is infinitely better than being surrounded by people who constantly force you to lower yourself. The loneliness you fear is temporary, but the damage of compromise lasts for years. When you raise your standards, yes, some people will leave. And they should, because if they cannot respect the bar you set, they never truly respected you at all. There is a paradox here, one that is easy to miss. The higher your standards, the less you need to chase. Because people sense it. They sense that you will not bend, that you will not beg, that you would rather walk alone than walk with the wrong crowd. And that strength is magnetic. Women, especially, are drawn to men who are unyielding about what they will and will not accept. It signals strength, leadership, and courage. It signals that you know your value and that you won't sell it for cheap. Raising your standards also means raising them for yourself. You cannot demand respect if you live without discipline. You cannot expect loyalty if you betray your own goals. You cannot ask for excellence if you constantly cut corners. The standards you hold others to must be the same standards you live by. And when you do, something remarkable happens. You stop being a hypocrite, and you start being a force. People take you seriously because they see you hold yourself accountable. You become someone whose presence demands respect without you ever having to say a word. And here's the key. Compromise is seductive. It whispers to you when you're tired, when you're lonely, when you feel uncertain. It tells you to let things slide, to lower the bar just this once. But every time you give in, you chip away at your own foundation. Every time you say yes to something you know is beneath you, you betray yourself. And betrayal of the self is the surest way to lose all attraction, all respect, and all strength. So raise your standards, refuse to compromise, build a life where only the worthy gain entry, where only those who respect your time, your values, and your vision can stay. Because when you do, you will no longer have to chase anyone. You'll stand as a man who is unshakable, undeniable, and uncompromising. And the world will chase you, not because you demanded it, but because you became the kind of man who cannot be ignored. When you look back at everything we've covered, you can see a pattern emerging. It begins with valuing yourself above all else, because without that foundation, nothing else holds. Then it flows into embodying unshakable confidence, the kind of presence that doesn't beg for approval, but commands respect by its very nature. It grows stronger as you live with purpose and direction, because a man without a mission is a man drifting, and no one follows drift. They follow clarity. It deepens as you master emotional control, showing that you are steady when the storms hit, that you cannot be broken by anger, rejection, or fear. It sharpens when you remain mysterious instead of predictable, because curiosity is the spark that keeps desire alive. And finally, it culminates in raising your standards and refusing to compromise, because the world treats you according to the rules you set for yourself. Each of these principles ties into the same truth. You do not chase respect, attention, or affection. You build yourself into someone who draws it naturally. You stop handing your power away. You stop negotiating your value. You become the kind of man whose presence is enough, whose direction inspires, whose steadiness reassures, and whose standards demand pursuit. And when you live this way, you'll realize something profound. You never had to beg, you never had to cling, you never had to compromise. All you had to do was rise. So take this seriously, because the moment you choose to embody these truths, everything around you begins to shift. You'll no longer wonder why they don't chase, you'll see them chasing. Not because you tricked them, not because you played games, but because you finally became the man they cannot ignore. And that, above all else, is the kind of man worth becoming.